Welcome in to the latest episode of the Captain's Log. I'm your host, Brandon, aka the Captain, joined all season long by my boy Webb. Webb, I know I missed a few weeks, but tell me, this show's still about one thing, right?
Memphis, baby.
Memphis.
Hey.
Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee.
That's right. Nothing but Memphis Showboats. Me and your boy Webb back at it again. Had a little hiatus, one sick week, one vacation week, whatever you want to call it. Thorn, appreciate you stepping in, filling us up with all kinds of knowledge. Going to be referencing it a lot on this show. Going to be using some Thorn takes. Absolutely love the Thorn episode. Webb, how you doing, bro?
Good, man. I'm excited that you're back. We got camp, in 10 days, 12 days, something like that. Coaches reporting.
Yes, sir.
I'm just excited. I think the roster is rounding form, and yeah, it's getting good, man. It really is. When you deep dive into these rosters, the whole league is talented this year. So
I love it. I love it. Speaking of the whole league, they got some betting odds just dropped right now before we came on.
I
The
saw that.
disrespect to the Showboats is what it is. But Birmingham Stallions, the leader in the clubhouse, followed by the Battlehawks, and then big drop off after that. So, Showboats, if you want to sprinkle a little something, maybe we make it to the chip. Nice little championship run.
You got yours off of DraftKings, right? You said it was DraftKings.
They're the first ones that I've
They
seen.
are still XFL bias. Like as much like DC Defenders. Come on, man. That's your third best team in the league. Like they're above San Antonio. I'm like, come on, stop with this XFL bias. I don't know.
Well, what it is, what it really is that one conference that we're in, they've got the big bad Stallions in it.
Yeah.
So
I know.
it's everybody after the Stallions is going to have longer odds. It's just rough. But yeah, man, camp's heating up. We got some new signings today. Let's get into it.
New signings up until today, actually. Isaiah Washington from Rutgers, wide receiver. Alex Lindstrom, the center. He's back. Was a showboat last year. Steele Chambers, the all-time great name. Linebacker from Ohio State. And J.D. Dorenzo, the former Carolina Panther. And I kind of said this on Twitter. We seem to have a trend where we're using the Carolina Panthers quite a bit and the Rutgers quite a bit. And I wonder if you know why we have a connection with those two, or it just so happens.
I'm going to assume the Panthers might be one of those four teams that were allotted. Each team in the UFL has like four NFL teams, and it's not necessarily divided by region. Like, it's very odd how they came up with who gets what, but it feels like that's got to be it. And then both the two out of four of these guys are former Scarlet Knights out of Rutgers, so seems very, very trendy. These coaches and GM people, they seem to find a type. They get real comfortable with that type, and that's why it's not about what you know. It's about who you know. But what you know can keep you there.
There you go. Steele Chambers, obviously, Ohio State, that's a big school. Former running back, which is unique to see that. He played a couple of years at running back and then switched over to the linebacker side. That's probably where the number 22 comes from, to be honest with you. Out of these four, are there any ones that you're like really excited for? I know Lindstrom is back for a second year, which is a center, right?
O-line, D-line, baby. Yeah. O-line, D-line. And we got two nice O-linemen right here. Like you said, Lindstrom coming back. He was a one shining spot on that dark Showboats offensive line. One of the only guys on the Showboats to get an NFL opportunity, stuck around on a couple practice squads. And by the end of the year last year, at first they were starting him out at guard, and then the last 4 games or so of the season, they moved him back to his natural position at center, and that was where he kind of had his best play at. So hopefully this is our starting center, unless, hey, there's competition now. If somebody beats out Alec, that could be even a better center than Alec, and maybe Alec could still be guard, do something else. Staying on the offensive line, you got J.D. Dorenzo over here. He was listed as a guard. If you go back to his Sacred Heart days where he started college, he actually played tackle, both sides. So he's got some versatility. He can play left tackle, right tackle. His final year at Rutgers, where he really came onto the scene, he was a guard primarily, started all the games at guard. Was named offensive MVP at the Rutgers. Pretty cool for an offensive lineman, which I guess that tells you how the rest of the team went. But shout out J.D. Dorenzo. So two guys, man, helping to bolster the offensive line. I think we got like 9 offensive linemen right about now.
Yeah.
So one of those feisty camp battles that we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited about Isaiah Washington because when we were looking for media on Twitter, it's just big play after big play. Like he just seems like one of the big play wide receivers. And obviously, I used the photo here with the one-hand catch and everything. Like he just seems like he's going to be a walking big play, which obviously the Boats need in this new look offense.
Yeah,
But
another wide receiver that like Thor was talking about last week, like bunch of big body dudes, like
yeah,
the same prototype receiver of like outside. Not a lot of slot guys. I think he mentioned that Kwame Lassiter could
yeah,
be our slot guy. So Washington, yeah, it seems like they definitely have a type on offense. Big guys that can go up and get it, and I don't mind it. I mean, shoot, if your quarterback's a little off accurate, guess what? Big dude, big wingspan that can make up for some bad throws.
yeah, definitely. And Lassiter kind of has a position hold, right? Kind of like kicker and the punter. There's only one that's showing up to camp. He's going to be the slot guy. So good for Kwame. But
Yeah, and then
we're
talk about Steele. I mean, like you said, can't get a better name than Steele Chambers.
definitely a tackling machine from what I read. Obviously, he didn't play all 4 years at Ohio State at linebacker. He was running back. A high ceiling guy here. Obviously, you played in
A lot
Big
of
Ten football.
potential.
Obviously, the two Rutgers guys did play at Big Ten football, but he played at the Ohio State University. Like there aren't many programs at that level. So for him to stick it out for all 4 years, I expect big things out of him. But it's camp, man. 10 days late. Is it 10 days, or did I make this graphic? I know we were filming. We canceled it. It's about 10 days, right?
Technically, right now.
Right now.
By the time people watch this, it'll probably be 9 or 8 days.
Yeah.
So, but next Friday, the 27th, yeah, next Friday, yeah, that'll be 10 days. Something like next Thursday or Friday, February 27th, coaches report, and then the day after that, players report. Which is a little different from how they did it last year. Apparently,
Yeah.
some of the I guess last year the coaches came in about a week before the players, and the coaches got a little more time to set up. I forget who was talking about it recently, but one of the coaches, it might have been Curtis Johnson. He was on a weird little media tour lately. Old Houston Roughnecks head coach out there, just saying stuff, good stuff, and he mentioned that this year is going to be a little different with camp, being as everybody's getting there at the same time. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, if it has any effect on anything.
I'm going to kind of throw you a curveball here. You weren't on the show last week when we announced coaches. What's your take? We need the captain's take on the coaches.
I like it. I mean, we got the belle of the ball out there, a guy that was more than deserving of getting a head coaching role for sure in this league or somewhere. So I'll gladly, selfishly keep him for this year. And as many years as he wants to be a boat, maybe Ken Wisenhunt wants to pass the torch. Maybe we got a little Gerard Mayo, Bill Belichick situation here, huh? Old next in line. Hopefully, Jaron has more success than Gerard Mayo if that comes to fruition. But I like it, man. I like it. A couple of the same guys from last year with a mix of some new guys. So Ken Wisenhunt seems like he's going to be offensive coordinator and head coach. So it feels like in a league like this too, the head coaches can kind of do that more so. Whereas like the NFL, there's so much crap that head coaches have to deal with, from scheduling to logistics and all that stuff. It feels like in this league, what Ken wants to do, if he wants to be play caller, which it seems like it is since there was no OC announced officially, it seems like that'll be an easier thing to do as opposed to him trying to do that in the NFL.
Yeah, I like the fact that he blended some of Flip's guys with his own guys. And I think with his experience, a lot of younger guys, obviously, the running backs coach, Fernand and everything from Black Hills.
Lee Morris that Thorne mentioned last episode, which I completely agree with that, man. Just the League of Opportunity, baby. More to love, I guess, is the new logo, but I like the League of Opportunity. Okay.
It's almost like we have two head coaches. You got Horton kind of running his own defensive staff. He's bringing his guys in. And then on the offense side, Wisenhunt's kind of mentoring a lot of younger guys. And I think it could work out great. So,
yeah. It feels like somebody definitely told Ken, hey, this guy.
That's the guy.
Go ahead and get you this guy, and you won't have to worry about your defense, buddy.
So we're going to talk about camp battles the rest of the episode. We picked a few ourselves. We'll discuss where we think it's going to land. I don't know if you got. I haven't written down roster numbers. Like I see one or two cuts there. I kind of guess by looking at the numbers, but we'll start quarterback. Everyone wants to talk quarterback. We got 3 guys. I picked 2: EJ Perry, Troy Williams. I think they're our guys. If we're betting on a horse, you're taking EJ Perry. I'm taking Troy Williams, and of course we got Quentin Dormady. I think this is one of the most fascinating quarterback races throughout the entire league because I think it can be any of 3 guys. I don't think that's the case anywhere else except here. So your take. I talked a little bit with Thorne last week on it, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, like you said, quarterbacks. I mean, it's an interesting enough room that old James Larson wrote a whole column about it. So that tells you right there that there's something about this room. Like you said, I mean, it could be boom or bust almost. It's doesn't really seem like there's much of a middle ground here. I guess there is with Quentin Dormady. You kind of always know what you got with Quentin. But as far as EJ and Troy goes, I heard Thorne talking about it. EJ, we don't really know. We just don't know what exactly he is, and uh, I'm excited to see what he does. Might see if we might have to get one of these quarterbacks on, to see what they feel about it, whether it's Troy or one of these new fellas in the room, because I'm not sure. It is interesting because it could be anybody, but that's also scary because it's like ah. Anybody could excel if the offensive line is dope. So that's all we need.
Well, yeah, I agree. And also, we really don't know what the offense is going to look like. So Horton kind of brought his guys. Wisenhunt kind of used some of Flips and brought some of his own guys that haven't been at a high level, like the Fernandez and the running back coach. So you really don't know what quarterback would fit that system perfectly. Like what a Skip Holtz offense kind of looks like. Right now, we have no idea what a Wisenhunt with this staff looks like. So it should be interesting. Something to
feels
follow.
like if I had to guess, it feels like Ken would be a just throw it all over the yard kind of guy. That's my early read. Just kind of with the signings, especially on offense, like receiver aplenty. So it feels like Ken kind of wants to throw this thing all over the yard a little bit.
Hey, I'm all for it. Defensive back. Me and Thorne went back and forth. This is probably the deepest room that we have on the roster. Obviously, now we know defense coordinator Jaron Horton, Steve Meyer. They're defensive back guys. We've got some good ones come back. Kyrie Woods was, I believe, the PFF top grade vote last year, correct?
Oh, yeah.
And then Cam Dantzler.
I think he was USFL too. I think past 2 years, Kyrie Woods is right there, 90 plus PFF grade. Both years he's been in spring ball.
And then Cam Dantzler, who's a big physical corner. Mark Gilbert, obviously. We've got quite a room here, quite a battle to get excited for. Keaton Ellis on the safety spot, Eli Walker. Like, we've got a ton of guys in this room. Any guy that stands out for you, I know we've kind of talked about a few of them as they've been signed, but now looking at the roster, is there a guy to be like, hey, you know what? I'll ride with that guy.
I was when I watched the episode that you guys did last week, this is one of the rooms I was pretty interested to hear Thorne's take on, and pleasantly surprised. I honestly, I knew Cam Dantzler, big name, obviously has done big things in his football career, but I didn't think it had as much respect as Thorne gave it, honestly. So it was definitely good to hear that he thinks this is one of the strongest rooms on the team, let alone in the league. It felt like he felt like this could be a strong top 3 unit in the league, just at the secondary goes. So one of the guys he mentioned, Eric Garror. When I was looking up him to do a little tweet about him, he just seems like a great dude too. Like, he had a special connection with a Make-A-Wish type of foundation. I don't want to screw it up, but it was something in Tennessee as well, because he was with the Tennessee Titans for a little bit, so he has already some local ties to Tennessee. So I love to see that. Like I said, when I was looking him up, just a good dude. You know what I'm saying? So love to see that, a guy you can root for. So let's ride on the Eric Garror train. The Cam Dantzlers will get talked about. The Mark Gilberts will get talked about. Kyrie Woods. Let's get some shine to Eric.
Yeah, the one hot take I think from that, looking at his depth chart talking about Thorne, is that he's got Kyrie pretty deep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 6.
Way back.
This
Yeah.
right before Nehemiah Shelton. So he's basically thinking the new regime. But didn't Kyrie sign more recently than not the October? Didn't he re-sign like in December-ish? And I'm only saying that because Ken was already there. So and Manos was there. I thought Kyrie. I could be wrong, but anyways,
I think you're wrong. I think Kyrie was one of our initial re-signings because it
Gotcha.
feels like it's been a while.
Gotcha, but he's still on the roster. They haven't cut him. They haven't removed him.
Yeah,
from the roster.
There's a place on the field for Kyrie Woods. I feel like.
Actually, Jaron Horton in his podcast with the UFL Insider this week mentioned Kyrie by name.
I missed that one.
So the fact that he's gotten some attention. So I think you have a great camp battle. Jaquan Shepard. We didn't even talk about him. He's listed as number 2 on Thorne's depth chart. And then you go to safeties, and you've got a lot of experienced guys. And then you got the ones that me and you both said, James Jones and Amir Rep, that we don't know what we have, but it could be a very high ceiling. So it's definitely one of them to watch.
I love it.
Then we go to wideouts. You love offense. You got a certain guy you like?
Let's just go with old reliable Daywood. I feel like you can't go wrong with Daywood. I know he's a returning guy, but I think like Thorne mentioned last week, give him a lot more weapons, a lot more things. You can never have enough weapons. I mean, we've seen it. Injuries happen. Wide receivers go down. The Chiefs do it every year. They load up on weapons. The Eagles that just won the Super Bowl have weapons aplenty. Teams that seem to always be getting more weapons seem to be doing the best. So David Davis coming back, already familiar with the system, would probably be in the NFL still if he didn't get hurt. Probably wouldn't even be coming back to the UFL at this point. But unfortunately for him, lucky for us, he did suffer an injury. So now he's back in the UFL to prove himself again. And I think he's poised for, let's give him wide receiver 3. He'll be a top 3 wide receiver. I think last year he might have cracked like top 5, might have even been top 3 in some people's minds. I know in my mind he was a top 3 wide receiver, but I think he'll shine this year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited about Skates and Pickney and Sheets. I think they brought in a lot of weapons. Then you bring Isaiah Washington, who we just talked about. Jay Adams. Everyone forgets about Jay Adams, who, in a system where you might have 3 or 4 weapons, Jay Adams can put up a few numbers, just like he did in New Orleans that first year in the USFL.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out our boy Lowe. He's still somewhere in his room right now. There's a Jay Adams, super cool catch. I believe it was also on the Tampa Bay Bandits. So shout out the old Bandits. Everything awesome always happened against them. So story of my spring football coverage life here. But yeah, like you said, man. These 2 guys, and then Jay Adams, if he could just be a red zone package guy. I mean, he's still a contested catch winner, I feel like. I think he could still go up there and moss a couple people if he's got to. Is he going to be an every down receiver on the field all the time? Probably not at this point in his career, but if we can get a couple red zone packages for him, throw that boy a jump ball, let Jay Adams eat a little bit,
Yeah, definitely. My hot take for the slot receiver is that Kyle Sheets might be a slot option, and that's just because his athletic score, he'll be able to do the cuts in and out. Yeah. He is 6'2".
He's got a little Woker in him because he's got a little Julian Edelman in him. Does he have a little lacrosse player turned wide receiver in him? Is that what it is?
No, he's a D2 guy,
athletic?
But sneaky lunch pail guy.
Lunch pail guy.
The only thing is he's almost 6'3". So he is a big guy for a slot receiver. But when you only have so many guys, it seems like someone's got to be another slot receiver besides Lassiter. So that he's super athletic.
Who says we can't reinvent the slot position? Put a big body at slot who just happens to be a great athlete. What are you going to do? You put a linebacker. What are you going to do? Nickels across the league. Watch out.
There we go. All right. I just threw out a crazy idea, but we have a question of the week. You ready for that?
Oh, let's go.
All right, question of the week from Viking Wax Press. He lives on our comments, so I figured
this guy has changed his name at least 5 times.
Yeah, I believe his name is
My man
Royce.
leaves the comment have a different name every time, I swear. Yeah, Royce or yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where the wax comes. Royce wax something. Will Darius Victor be re-signed before training camp starts? I gotta say no. I love Vito.
Yeah.
Vito, thick thighs save lives. We're USFL guys from back in the day, but I just feel like it's too late in the game for him to get into it now. Obviously, we're about to talk about the room, and it's a brand new room. I just don't see where there's room for Darius Victor to come aboard now. It's not to say they can't contribute. It just seems like, without it being publicly said, decisions have been made.
Yeah, and Darius is usually pretty active on social. I don't know if he like kind of cut off his Twitter recently or something, but I mean, I haven't heard a peep out of Darius Victor. So, could mean retirement. It could be waiting around for somebody to get injured. He is kind of an OG in the spring league game by this point. So, a lot of NFL vets like to kind of wait out these training camp days and kind of pick a team after injuries happen. So maybe he could be waiting for that. Darius Victor is definitely a guy you can call in a pinch, and he can give you some good carries, good downs. Um, I mean, last time we saw him, he was still as physical as ever. So hate to see him go, but shoot, I just listened to Jay Sternberger on Around the UFL podcast over there, and he was kind of talking about. He made a great point. Like, this is a developmental thing. Like, he gets it. Like, I think some of these older guys get it. They don't want to spend their whole twilight years, chasing this NFL dream that they know is not going to come. So I don't know if Victor is at that point yet, but I think, he hasn't gotten an NFL shot after any spring season really since he's been in the spring ball. So writing kind of seems like it's on the wall for Darius Victor. Now, he is one of those guys like a Boogie Roberts, like a Scooby Wright, that I wish the league would keep around in some capacity. Like, he's good for the game. Like, he knows these players. He's been around spring ball. He knows how it works. Like, he can be a great sideline guy. And maybe that's not what he wants to do. But I know there's some guys in the league that would love an opportunity like that. And I think it could be a great way for the UFL and spring leagues to promote their own stars, create their own stars.
Yeah, and we just had an interview on the UFM channel today from Luis Perez that kind of
Yeah.
said that he would do this for the rest of his life as long as football. He would be the Tom Brady. I think Ace worded as the Tom Brady of the spring league, and he's like, "Yeah, I could do it if they paid me a little bit better." Obviously, that's
Yeah,
part of the big
I
thing.
mean,
But
and no shade at Luis. He's done a
yeah,
lot for spring ball. Hey, he's on his book tour right now, making his rounds. I hope the book becomes a New York Times bestseller. I wish nothing but the best for Luis Perez,
yeah.
except whenever we play him.
Go there, you go. Going to the running back room. Jacob Cabody, Deneric Prince, Tory. This room is a lot different than Showboat fans will remember. Obviously, are you excited for that? Because you've kind of seen, you dealt with the Washington era, right? The Haley, where like it was you really never really had a great running game. You had Vito last year. It wasn't the greatest running game. This has a lot of potential here with this running back room. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was one of my rankings, right? I had
Yeah,
offensive
it
line,
was.
running back. Yeah. This is a top two. After offensive line, I think, I gave you quarterbacks. Nice little layup. Obviously, quarterbacks is a huge camp battle, but offensive line, running back, wide receiver were kind of my big camp battles on the offense. Wide receiver, because we got so many. Offensive line, because we need an offensive line desperately. And running back, because like you said, it's a brand new room, a lot of opportunity in this room. I think Thorne hit it right on the head that whoever does end up winning will be the workhorse of this room. I don't think there will be much running back by committee. Cabody, I was pretty excited to hear how excited Thorne was about Cabody, but you had to take that one with a little bit of salt because he does have that AFC North bias, that Ravens bias a little bit. So I forgive him for that. But AFC North football, it's hot in the kitchen. If you watch that Hard Knocks, that's as hard nosed old school football as we have left in the NFL. So if Jacob Cabody was able to make it through there, he was able to play a game against the Ravens when they needed him, performed decently. So excited about Cabody. I see you took off Dwayne McBride after after Thorne said there's got to be some reason he's not in the NFL, right? So you took Dwayne McBride off, one of our most decorated running backs, in exchange for Deneric Prince, who I really didn't know much about. But I think Dwayne McBride is still, if there was something that he couldn't stick around in the NFL with, if it's maybe if it's something easy he can fix, like a character issue, an attitude issue, something like that, where it's not really his on-field production that we're worried about. It's his off-field little stuff, like being a pro, maybe. We could fix that. We could fix that right up. This dude could be right back at it. This is what the league's for, man. Get this guy a little attitude adjustment. Not saying he needs it. Dwayne, if you see this, you're probably the best guy ever. One of the nicest guys to come out of University of Alabama at Birmingham. I don't know, but I'm just saying. Let's not sleep on Dwayne McBride just yet.
I agree with you. I think McBride could be very, very good. I just like Prince's body. He's taller. He's a little bit bigger. I just like a workhorse back. Like Thorne said, I agree with that there'll be one running back that will be running back one, and then kind of mix and match for the backup. And I just think these are the top two right now, especially after listening to Thorne. Prince, he's been with Miami and Kansas City in the NFL. Played at Tulsa, which is a very offensive system historically. I just think he's that guy, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is McBride. I see you love him. What about DeAndre Torrey? I know that was your guy.
It's a real shame, isn't it? It's a real shame. Torrey signed one of the first signings. I was like, okay, all right, North Texas, DeAndre Torrey. I watched some highlights. I'm like, all right. And then Prince, I think, was next.
Yep.
Or no, not Prince. It was Dwayne McBride.
Yep.
And then everybody was excited about McBride. All these Alabama folks that I follow with, Birmingham Stallions ties were like, oh my God, this dude's amazing. And I'm like, damn, pretty good career. I'm like, all right, well, then maybe it's the McBride show. Then boom, we signed Prince. And I'm like, okay, all right. I still think it's the McBride show. And then boom, we signed Cabote. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Now we got to reevaluate. Roster Doc Thorne said some things. I said some things. He's probably watched more things with me. So if so facto, I'm going to default to his opinion. So
that's fine. I agree with you that this is one of the best camp battles for this team and in the league, really, because I think this is the only running back room that's 100% changed over. I think everyone else brought at least one back. So this is a wide open camp battle with the new regime. Then we'll go to offensive line. You talk about this all the time. The offensive line needed to be changed after last year. We still have the same coach. Thorne kind of said it wasn't the coach. It wasn't the cook. It was the ingredients. So obviously the GM, Amanos, Winston Hunt, and the coach, they changed a lot of it. Now we're looking back on it, and we got 4 guys coming back from last year. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new guys. If I'm counting correctly, 6 new guys. So we got 10 offensive linemen after today's signing.
Yeah. And I talked with Thorne a little bit before this. Buddy was busy tonight. Poor guy was pulling double duty. Had to do his little show appearance. He's a very popular guy. Very popular guy, if you didn't know. He's got to do a show appearance, and then he's got to craft this roster doc, get it in shape. The transaction page has been really slipping the past couple weeks. So I think he's been able to take a couple of days off. He's been lacking. So he had to get back into lab today. But offensive line, man, it's going to be a great camp battle. I think, hopefully the 5 that we have coming out of camp will be the 5 that we can carry on all season. They can all gel together. Hopefully by week 3 or week 4, we see a real big uptick, and boom, the boys take off. So like I said, I was talking to Thorne a little bit. I'm like, hey, we just added another offensive lineman. What are we doing? Where are you putting Lindstrom? Where are you putting this guy? Where are you putting that guy? So he did a little finagling with the roster doc. Lindstrom is back at center, starting center, right where I would put him. We got 4 guys at guard, and we got 1, 2, 4 guys at projected tackle. This is just his projections. And I like it. It's all fresh faces. It's all new faces for the most part. Nobody that seems to really have developed any bad habits, maybe. So young guys that we can kind of mold and shape into what we need, shape into a good football player, and somebody that can hold our quarterback upright, let him have no grass on his jersey at the end of the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm really excited about the guards, really. He listed as guards, Nate Gilliam, Nash Jensen. I
Yeah, it
also
seems like
love
the
having
interior.
yeah,
Seems like our interior is our strength right now. Tackles
yeah,
seems like it's up for grabs.
yeah. And Lindstrom coming back, Boston College. I always think of offensive line guys, like if they come from a smart school, they're probably pretty good if they're still playing. You got a Boston College, you got a Northwestern, you've got a Wake Forest, like you've got a lot of private
Big
schools.
brain, big
Big
boy.
brain guys, yeah. So
Gotcha.
Rutgers, I guess I would give them credit. But
Sure.
I feel like they've done a great job with this, especially on the interior, like we were talking about, Gilliam and Nash Jensen. I'm super excited to see Nash Jensen as a former Maulers draft pick. I was super excited. I
Yep.
dug way too deep into that, and he was with Carolina for 2 years. So
He
I
seems
think
awesome.
I think this rebuild obviously will be the most important rebuild out of the entire roster. It doesn't matter what Jaron Horton does on defense. If this offensive line can't get any better, it really doesn't matter. Like unless your defense is scoring 21 points, like the offense has to generate something, right? It has to generate something. So
I laugh when you say that because all I can think of when you say that is Ducky and the stupid PFN Discord. What do you mean? What do you mean? Who needs offense when you score on defense? And that's what Jaron Horton does. Listen, we all
yeah.
we all got Jaron Horton up there. Okay, DC Hall of Famer. Okay, or not DC, it's defenders, but defensive coordinator. You get it. And if we can score on defense, but we've seen it. Like you said, I mean, we can't rely on defense. It can get you to a championship. We've seen that. The Pittsburgh Maulers of 2023 were very much the embodiment of that. But as you can see, you kind of can't win the championship unless you have at least one more phase. That offensive phase is pretty damn important. Defensive and special teams on point, 100%. They can win you a lot of games. But when you need to win the game against probably a Skip Holtz, probably a Wade Phillips, you're going to have to outcoach, you're going to have to outplay, out execute, and you need the talent for that. You need the offensive line for that. So hopefully, like I said, what we come out of in camp will be our starting five. Those guys can gel together, have some beers together after the game, whatever they need to do to link up, become five as one. Big brain dudes, like you said, they're smart. They should figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. And Ducky can say whatever he wants about defense having this, they can score points, but the Maulers don't make it to the USFL championship if Troy Williams doesn't have the best half that he's had as a professional to match EJ Perry, who's lighting up that defense, which ironically, they're both in the same QB battle now, but it just,
Good stories. I'm sure there'll be good stories in that quarterback room.
And the last one, defensive line. This is the one I'm excited about because I think this league is won on the defensive line. If you have a great defensive line, aka the Birmingham Stallions, you typically can be very good in this. The offensive line obviously is very important, like we just touched on, but defensive line can change a game and wreck every kind of game plan possible. I think there's a ton of talent in this room. I'm excited about DeMarcus Mitchell. I think Thorne had him kind of low. The former Stallion himself, he had 2 sacks in 5 games last year. The 2 sacks did come against the Memphis Showboats defensive offensive line, but he's talented. Obviously, he spent some time with the Patriots. I think Isaiah Green Bay is going to be a name that will explode this year. I really do. I really think he might be one of the best, and it's not just because he's my guy. I just think he's built correctly, and I think he in this defense now that Jaron Horton is officially the defense coordinator, he'll fit perfectly. Nas player, obviously, all the Mauler guys. Don't forget Boogie. First off, let's go to your take on Boogie because one of the most controversial takes from Thorne last week was that he basically called out Boogie and said, "Hey, I don't see Boogie being 2023." Boogie watches all this time. The captain,
We love it.
the captain, please give me your Boogie take because I think Boogie is going to be on a revenge tour.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've heard that before. We have heard this revenge tour drop before. Now, the DC Defenders, they sure could have used at least one Boogie Roberts, a 50% Boogie Roberts they could have used. So I don't know what they were doing, but the boys' revenge tour didn't work out last year. He had to put it on hold. So when he put it on hold, he's been in the lab grinding. Okay. He's been doing his commercials. You think he's out of shape. Okay. He's just an actor now. He's a big LA Hollywood guy. Ooh, watch out. Boogie's been out of football for a year. He hasn't played. So what? It's Boogie Roberts, baby. Okay. He's going to show up. He's going to do his job. And he's an old man. I think he'll tell you. I think Boogie Roberts will tell you he's an old man. Okay, seasoned. I think is what Fred Taylor calls it. You're not an old man. You're just seasoned. And Boogie's got a lot of seasoning on him. Okay, but you can use that seasoning. You can use that wise old man to get some extra tricks. These young bucks don't know. They don't know what Boogie Roberts' special is. They don't have no film on him. He's been out of the league for a year. They're not expecting this old fella to creep up on him. And when he does, he's gonna perform. I think we can get, like I said, even with Eli Walker, if we just get 90%, 80% of what Eli Walker was. Same thing with Boogie Roberts. If we can get 80% Boogie Roberts, I'll take it.
Fair enough. Any other defensive line guys you're excited about? I know you're not the
my
biggest.
My wagon's still hitched to Brevin Allen. I think Thorne even mentioned him last week as well, so that gave me some good credibility right there. I appreciate that Thorne making me seem like a little bit of a ball nowhere every now and then. But yeah, I think Brevin Allen is my guy. It feels like he could be a productive player this year on the other side of your boy Green Bay there.
What about the guys returning? And anyone that sticks out? I know it's tough to get involved with a new defense, but anyone?
I was surprised that Thorne kind of liked. I think he said he kind of liked Josiah Bronson and PJ Hall. And I know Josiah had a shot with the Patriots after his time with the Showboats, but that felt more like this guy's kind of been around before, like he knows how an NFL building operates. So we can bring him in, unfortunately, as a camp body. That felt like a very camp body signing. Felt like he didn't really have a chance to actually make the team, but he's good enough to get an opportunity and a look. So I like Josiah Bronson. One guy that's very interesting that's still on the team is John Atkins. I think I don't remember if y'all brought him up last week or not, but
we didn't.
I think he's older than Boogie. Old Georgia Bulldog, John Atkins, and he's a dog. He had that hell of a game last year or maybe 2 years ago where he broke up like 5 passes right there at the defensive line. So if you can get a rejuvenated John Atkins, because I think he might have a little good football left in him, but I think at this point in his career, he is hopefully more of a rotational guy for us that we can keep fresh. And then when we need him to close out a couple of drives or here or there, we can let him loose, pass rushing kind of situations only, maybe a run stuff. But John Atkins is an interesting fellow. I'm surprised he's made it this long, but it feels like that's more of a respect thing. I think kind of coaches like Jaron Horton in particular has seen John Atkins for the past couple years and is maybe giving this guy the respect, like, hey, come out to camp, put your name in the hat, put in for a battle, and we can see if we can get you on the team.
Yeah, I think John Atkins is a perfect call out because Boogie's kind of the undersized defensive tackle. And in the 2 years he was in Pittsburgh, he had a giant, Olive Sagapolo was 340 pounds. John Atkins he's actually 20 pounds lighter than Olive, but he's the biggest defensive lineman we have right now. So I think Atkins, that's exactly, and it gives the room for Boogie to work. So I think Atkins just got to, take on 2 guys and frees up Boogie. And
just die slowly, John. Just die slowly out there. Just growl at him real hard. Pull that Georgia Bulldog. I remember. Scare him off the line a little bit.
Yeah. All right, man. That was good. I'm excited for the next time we do an episode. It'll be like 2 days before. So this is getting real, man. It's getting real.
I don't know what we're going to do. I can't imagine too many signings coming. What are we at? Let me check. We're at 63, according to the roster guru. So we get to bring one more person into camp. So Maybe we're bringing in a couple more. There might be a couple little shifts here and there, but yeah, one more player till we hit that little camp limit, and we're off and running, baby. Maybe we can squeeze in. I don't know. We might be able to squeeze in somebody before they get to camp. I don't know who we can get, but we might reel in one of these players because it doesn't seem like we'll have too much news to talk about, and I don't think we can beat these training camp battles into the ground any more than we have. So get a little fresh blood in, get to know one of our players a little more. And shout out Bill Alexander. Had to come back.
I love it, man.
That's
I
my
love
face. That's my face.
All right. This has been the Captain Logs with the captain and Skipper.
Hey, Skipper. Go Boats.
Go Boats.